Hey everyone, welcome to Ortho Thrive. We have Greg Pellegrim, co-founder and CEO of SmileSnap, back with us today to catch up with what he and SmileSnap have been up to since we last spoke. Greg, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Richie. Appreciate you having me. It's been 3 years. I think I blinked and that happened. So it's kind of crazy.
I know all of us, I feel like that. I'm like, what year is it? Oh my gosh. I just was working on a contract for someone and I had to put 2024 in it. And I was like, that is really strange.
Yes, it is.
So why don't you just give us an overview of SmileSnap for people who haven't heard you before and tell us how it's helping orthodontic practices.
Yeah, absolutely. So SmileSnap is a virtual consultation platform for the dental industry. We have a heavy focus in the orthodontic space. Most of our customers are there, and that's just because where we sort of began as a company in 2019. And we were benefactors of the pandemic, where we had some significant growth during that time when practices were closed. But in a nutshell, what we are is we're a software widget that gets embedded onto the practice website, and through various marketing efforts and whatnot, to drive potential patients to the widget. These patients can answer a set of customized questions, take a series of photos of their teeth, provide their contact information, and submit it, in which it then goes to the practice where they can assess the patient's needs and respond with as much information as they would like, including a recorded video, typically talking about what they recommend that they need, how long it might take, giving them an idea of what it will cost. It's really what it is it's about changing the way that we sell dental and orthodontic services, where historically it's always been done in the office. Call and schedule, come in, then we'll look in your mouth, tell you what you need, how long it's going to take, and what it's going to cost. And oftentimes it's very inefficient. People find out they're not ready for treatment or not willing to commit or maybe can't afford it. Whatever the reason is, we're trying to get a lot of that stuff done ahead of time before they ever make it to the practice. And so the biggest benefits in utilizing our platform and virtual consults is it really acts as a filtering mechanism for these patients, and it qualifies them. So when they go through our process, then come in for that initial records appointment, they're converting well into the 90% because they have been provided with a lot of information, and they're motivated, they're qualified. We have customers now that are getting signed contracts and down payments ahead of time. And so what it's really cut down on no-shows, and it's cut down on, I got to go talk to my spouse, or I have to think about it, and then walk out the door never to be heard from again. So it's just a more efficient, effective way for selling services to people who, and these are typically going to be your online consumers that you're tapping into. These are the leads that your agencies like Ortho Sales Engine does such a great job of driving those eyeballs to the website. We got to give them a way to engage. We don't want them to leave. These aren't your patient referrals. These aren't your, GP or doctor referrals. Those are the low-hanging fruit. Those are easy. You're already converting those at a very high percentage. We're helping tap into that market of, online consumers, people who are searching for this evenings and weekends and holidays and, kind of on the fence, which is a huge market. So we're just trying to streamline that process and make it very effective and efficient.
Well, it sounds like it covers pretty much everything from I don't know who you are to coming into the office. So what inspired you to create SmileSnap 360?
So 20 years ago, this year, I actually got into the orthodontic space as a sales rep with 3M Unitech. And so I really, started with a great organization, learned the business, learned a lot about orthodontia. And, after a few stops at some other companies, I wanted to try my hand at something different. I was kind of bit by that entrepreneurial bug, if you will. And a lot of my customers at the time were, if we think back around 2017, 18, there was a lot of things changing in the industry. There was more residents coming out of school. Orthodontists weren't retiring quite at the same pace. Invisalign was looking to go into the retail space. The direct-to-consumer market had all of a sudden reared its ugly head. And in addition to that, corporate, dentistry was starting to infiltrate and appear in every corner or shopping center in local towns, and patient acquisition was at top of mind for a lot of my docs. GPs weren't referring like they used to, and so they were having to look and figure out other ways to drive new patients, because orthodontics is a very unique model where you've got to constantly be filling the top of that funnel.
Absolutely.
It's not like a GP where I've been with my dentist, the same one, for 22 years.
Wow.
Orthodontics is very different, where it's sort of like this churn and burn mentality. Keep filling that funnel and squeezing them out the bottom. But if you're not constantly filling the top of that funnel, it can go dry in a hurry. And so we feel like SmileSnap expands, access to a practice geographically.
Yeah.
You have a greater reach. Time-wise, right? You're available 24/7. People can submit virtual consult requests from anywhere at any time. And so it really is about expanding that access to a practice. And then it resonates with today's consumers, right? Millennials are now the largest percentage of population in the United States. They're also the largest percentage of the workforce. So we can put to
I hadn't
rest.
heard they're the largest percentage of work.
They are. Yeah, they're working. They got money. They're ready to spend it. So we can dispel that whole thing about they don't want to work. Okay, they got jobs. However, they do they do think differently when it comes to making purchase decisions, and they're big on that whole experience. They want it to be convenient. They want transparency, and they're looking for value. They don't necessarily always gravitate towards the least expensive or even the most expensive. And a lot of them make decisions based on the experience that they have. So we try to keep that in mind, as we continue to add more features and functionality to our platform, so that it's something that resonates with, that millennial generation, which I think spans I want to say 27 to like 42 is kind of the age range of the millennial generation now.
All right. Also, what is SmileSnap 360? How does it do that for you?
So we've learned a lot in the last 3 years, right?
Yeah.
We had this explosive growth. We've built a ton of new features and functionality within the platform. But the biggest challenge we have run into, hands down, is implementation into the practice. We can get the product set up. We can get the team kind of onboarded on how to use it. We, can even help with getting it implemented onto the practice website. But after that, we don't have a team of field consultants or field implementation specialists that are going out there and working with these practices on a regular basis, holding the team accountable, making sure that they're responding properly to these requests that come in, in a reasonable time frame as well.
I know I always wanted everyone to do it within 10 minutes, but I know how hard that is in a busy practice.
We have some practices that absolutely have it down to, less than an hour. And then we have some where, because believe me, I see the reports and I think to myself, like, you can't wait 9 days to respond to someone. That money is spent, right? And so a lot of our customers were leaving money on the table. But I get it. They're very busy. The doctor's busy. The team's busy. Staffing has always been a challenge in the dental space, but it seems like it's at an all-time kind of scary level right now. So when I do these podcasts, the two areas that I always recommend docs to be looking at and considering and thinking about is outsourcing and automation. What within my practice can I outsource and what can I automate?
Yeah, I was thinking of automation when you said that. I mean, if there's no way if you're doing a 9-day follow-up and there's nothing you can do right now, at very least hire someone like me to create that automation for you so that there's a touch that happens very quickly.
Yep. And recognizing these challenges, right? A lot of our customers were saying, hey, this is great, but you know what? I don't have the team right now to pull this off, or I'm too busy to do it. And so what we did in Q4 of 2022 is we launched a pilot of a service called SmileSnap 360. What that is we have a couple of remote treatment coordinators or virtual treatment coordinators that are part of the SmileSnap team that are well-versed in dentistry and orthodontics both, and they know our software inside and out, but they are an extension of the practice. Their job is to take the busy work of virtual consultations off the plate of the team members in the practice and or the doctor, and manage as much of it as they possibly can. So what does that mean? If a submission comes in, our virtual TCs will assess the patient's needs. They can make a recommendation as to what they need. They'll give them an estimate of how long it will take, and they'll go as far as giving them fees or a range of fees.
Yeah.
What that really means is they're educating this potential patient on what they're looking for. That's the number one thing. And they do it in a very timely manner. So they'll respond to them with a personalized recorded video, all that information. And then the most important part is once that's sent off, they continue to follow up with that patient until they either hear a thanks, but I'm not interested for whatever reason.
Yep.
They may hear, I'm interested, but I can't do this right now, in which we will then continue to stay in touch with them. Or the third, and our favorite, is this sounds great. What's the next step? Which is getting them scheduled for that records appointment.
And
so
that continued follow-up is so rare in offices. I just knowing from experience, because it's, unless you're really keeping track of all those potential patients, which is usually outside of your patient management system, then most people just they have time to do maybe once a week a follow-up. And even that, I think, is probably rarer than it should be.
Yes, and we are getting ready here within the next couple of weeks in our latest release, where we're going to be rolling out an automated follow-up system for these virtual consult patients. And you can set that up with email and or text outreach. You can set the frequency, what those messages are, and then obviously if they schedule treatment, it will cease, those messages. But it's a great way to, keep your name in front of that potential patient. And we've tested this a little bit. And what we find is that you actually flush out some people who submitted a virtual consult 3 months, 6 months, a year ago, and say, hey, yeah, you know what? I can do this now. So it's, we're excited.
You never know someone's obstacle was. It could have been anything. I mean, you really have to keep following up until you get a no or a yes definitively.
Yeah. So SmileSnap 360 is fully up and running. One of the things that I love about it too is that we only charge the customer when we are successful for them. Okay. What do I mean by that? So the way that our pricing model is going to work for it is there's going to be a setup and onboarding fee to get, you trained and up and running and get, our virtual TCs familiar. So there's a little bit of upfront work there. Yeah. But after that, SmileSnap, $0 per month, per year. We're not charging for the software. Yeah. And we're not charging a per consult fee either. So whether you have 5 a month, 20 a month, or 100 a month, we don't charge you for those. What we do charge for is when we get a patient scheduled and they show up for that exam appointment, we charge $199. If for some reason they no-show, and that rate's actually quite low because these people have been educated and communicated with, so the no-show rate is low, but if they don't, we don't charge. But once they're there, it's $199. And if they accept treatment, it's another $99. So the most you'd be out of pocket for us to do all that work to get them to yes. And start treatment is $298.
How are you keeping that no-show rate so low? Is it really just that initial education, or are there other methods you're using?
It's all part of that filtering process, right? It's having that communication with them, making sure that they, is this affordable? Yes, it is. Let's look at your schedule. Are you available? Do you have transportation? Lots of these questions that we can ask. And when you equip people with that info, and they're excited because they want to get that new smile. They know it's affordable. They understand what type of treatment they're going to be getting and how long it's going to take. They're not going in thinking it's going to be a bunch of surprises. So I'm a huge fan of online scheduling, but even online scheduling without a virtual consult, anybody can go in there and pick a time slot and then not show up, or pick a time slot and you don't know what's walking through the door. So we actually integrate with any online scheduling system that's out there. It's
really? That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So what we recommend is putting them through the virtual consult first and then let them schedule online, because at least now they're going to be a lot more educated, and you're going to be filtering out the time wasters, and the ones that do schedule are going to be much more likely to show up.
And is that virtual consult is with an actual person you're speaking to virtually?
Yes. So what we're doing is we're just sending that recorded video.
Yeah.
If needed, our virtual TCs can do a live video chat like
Oh,
this
I see. Yep.
through
Yep.
Smile Snap. Most of the time, that's not really needed, but it's there and it's within Smile Snap.
Mm-hmm.
If you know one of our virtual TCs needs to make that step, answer some more questions, make them feel comfortable, because it's really, in addition to the education side, you're building that trust, right? You're making sure
Yes.
that they like you. We really build up the practices and talk about, the doctor and the team and the atmosphere. And this all comes and it evolves and it gets better the more that our virtual TCs work with that practice month in and month out.
Oh, that makes sense. Um, so what kind of efficiencies have you seen for people that have adopted it? What kind of results have they had?
Great question. So right now we are tracking at about 25% of the leads that come in, we actually get to show up at the practice for that exam appointment. Okay. So again, we're filtering out 6, 7, 8, depending on the practice and how good their marketing is. And some it's, 40%, some it's 20%. So it just kind of depends.
Yeah.
But the best metric we have is of the ones that do make it to the practice for that exam appointment are accepting treatment at 95%.
That's awesome. 95%.
Yep.
So it really is all about this vetting. You're getting the right person to actually walk through the door. So we're not wasting chair time.
But that takes some effort and that takes some time. And I get it where the doctor and the team may not have that available to them because they're busy running things.
Yeah, that's definitely a good
practice.
part of the whole system to outsource, because then
Yeah.
it's less frustration for the team in the actual office.
Yep. And then at the end of each month, we reconcile with the practice of here's who we have scheduled. Can you verify that? Here's who started treatment. Can you verify that? Here's who we're still following up with. So, there's a little bit of collaboration throughout the month and at the end between our virtual TCs and the point of contact within the practice, but it's minimal in the grand scheme of having to follow up with these patients and get an answer from them.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. Do you have any success stories that you want to share?
So, I always like to highlight, there's a practice down in Alabama. He was our first pilot account, and, he's one of our earliest adopters, but the reality is it's a single location.
Yeah.
$5+ million in revenue. I mean, just a really large, busy practice. And they have loved the service because it took it off the plate of the team, and they have really embraced this whole concept. So not only are people coming through it more regularly, they have told us that, we have really increased the conversion rate. They were probably, of the ones that showed up, we're probably somewhere in that 60 to 70% rate. Which is much lower than what they were actually doing with their in-office consults. So they were like, okay, well, why are our virtual consults converting lower than our in-office? And now we've surpassed their, in-office consult conversion percentage with Smile Snap 360, and it's not wasting any of their time.
That's huge. Just not wasting time.
Yeah.
The morale of the office is going to improve. There's no doubt about it.
Sure. No, I mean, it is. It's there's nothing more frustrating to a practice when somebody comes in, you go through the whole consultation and they leave and they know whether or not they're gone for good. Okay. Or they're coming back.
Yeah.
But as I've always said, is if you don't give people any other way to find out this information, that's the fault of the practice. Okay. If your only way of giving people this information is requiring them to come in sight unseen for an in-person consultation, well, maybe they haven't been to the dentist in 5 years. You know, maybe they thought it cost $2,000 because they saw it on some commercial. So, you know, if they do leave, it's really not their fault because that's their only avenue to gather this information.
That makes sense. So are there some misconceptions or concerns that practices have about the 360 program? Like, how do you address that?
Not really necessarily on 360, but I think there are some with SmileSnap. And I actually just recorded a video this week talking about expectations versus reality.
Yeah.
Because again, this is all a learning process, right? As we move from that Blockbuster video store and off, you know, in-house experience, in-store experience to more Netflix, you know, selling dental services, we're learning a lot. And the one thing is, and I've always said this, SmileSnap, it's not a magic button. Okay. You get out of it what you put into it. We have some practices that are routinely for the past 2.5 years, starting 25 to 30 new patients per month through SmileSnap, in addition to their in-office exams.
Awesome. Yeah.
And then we have others that struggle to log in or respond to a patient in less than a week. I know this platform and this process works, but we have to rely heavily on the practice. If you just put SmileSnap on the website and say, all right, SmileSnap, do your thing, you're going to be disappointed. And the number one area where it starts, Rich, and this is where you guys come in, it's about marketing.
Yeah. You
have to properly market, promote, and offer virtual consults. Just last night, I was scrolling through my Facebook feed and I saw I had at least 3 dentist or orthodontic or implant ads come through my feed. You know what every single one of them wanted me to do when I clicked on it?
What?
Call the office.
Yeah.
It's 8 o'clock at night. And I don't want to call anyone. All right. And I'm not even a millennial or a Gen Z.
Yeah.
Other wanted me to fill out a form. I'm not filling out a form. Give me a way to quickly engage. And this is where virtual consult is perfect with Facebook ads, Instagram. We now have a direct link right to the widget that can be text out to patients. It can be put into email campaigns, right? Whether it's a blast or a drip campaign. We have QR codes now that we give everyone that's tied directly to that widget. That should be on all, you know, if you're doing any print or digital media and you're handing it out at community events or referral cards or signs in the practice, you got to make sure people are aware of you offer it, what it is, who should do it, why. It's not difficult. And our practices that really do that see not only a much higher volume of submissions coming through SmileSnap, but the quality is significantly better because they know what they're there for. They're answering the questions thoroughly. They're taking much better pictures of their teeth. They're anticipating a follow-up text, phone call, or email. So, you know, you've got to market it. So not a magic button. You get out of it what you put into it. So that's one of the expectations versus reality. That's huge.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, if someone wants to get started, how does that work? And what does the onboarding process look like?
Yeah, so the best way is still to just go to our website, which is smilesnap.com. If you're not familiar with the platform, you can schedule a live demo. I actually will run that personally, answer all your questions. I encourage you to invite as much of your front office team and the doctor to be on that same call so that you see the vision. You understand what the workflow is. You'll realize it's really not that time consuming, or if you think it's going to be, again, we've got the 360 service. And once you're ready to go, you can sign up directly on our website. And we've got a hybrid model now where we are charging a monthly or annual fee for the software. And then in addition, it's based on volume. So practices that are driving a higher volume are ultimately going to pay a little bit more than ones maybe who are on the lower side. And really what that's doing is it's just being fair to those single doc solo practices, that are, doing a lower volume versus the ones that are really ramping up their marketing. Maybe they're multi-doctor, multi-location, DSOs, OSOs and whatnot. So that's there. And then we talked about the pricing for Smile Snap 360, which is different.
Awesome. Well, Greg, thanks for telling us all about Smile Snap 360. And thanks to everyone who's watching and listening. Keep grinding, keep thriving, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks.
To be a guest on our show, or if you have a suggestion for a future show, reach out to us at orthothrive.com. You can reach host Richie Gerzon at richard@orthosalesengine.com. Until next time, thanks for joining us.